still seems impossible. All we can say is that we feel blessed to have had him as part of our lives, Friends co-creators Marta Kaufman and David Crane and executive producer Kevin Bright said in a statement. He was a brilliant talent. It's a cliché to say that an actor makes a role their own, but in Matthew's case, there are no truer words. From the day we first heard him embody the role of Chandler Bing, there was no one else for us. We will always cherish the joy, the light, the blinding intelligence he brought to every moment, not just to his work, but in life as well. He was always the funniest person in the room. More than that, he was the sweetest, with a giving and selfless heart. Warner Brothers Television, which produced Friends, said in a statement of its own, Matthew was an incredibly gifted actor and an indelible part of the Warner Brothers Television Group family. The impact of his comedic genius was felt around the world, and his legacy will live on in the hearts of so many. This is a heartbreaking day, and we send our love to his family, his loved ones, and all of his devoted fans. The TBS Marathon will begin November 1st with a 12-hour Best of Chandler run of episodes beginning at 6 a.m. Eastern Time/Pacific Time. It will feature Chandler-centric installments from across the show's 10 seasons. On November 2nd, it will show a dozen episodes highlighting the friendship between Chandler and Joey, Matt LeBlanc, and November 3rd will feature 5 episodes with key moments in the romantic relationship between Chandler and Monica Courtney Cox. Parts of the Best of Chandler Marathon will replay on November 4th, and 5.The Wind ended up being well received, which signaled to Blum that Tammi could also be a viable genre director. He eventually thought of her for the long-in-development Five Nights at Freddy's video game adaptation, and her pitch soon won over franchise creator Scott Cawthon, who'd lost a bit of faith after the project struggled mightily to get off the ground since its inception at Warner's in 2015. By the time I spoke with Scott, I'm not sure if he was confident that this movie was ever going to get made. They had some false starts, Tammi tells The Hollywood Reporter. So I think he was not only feeling the pressure from the fan base to get this film up and running, but he was also feeling very steadfast in knowing that he did not want this adaptation to be made unless it was done correctly. The key to Tammi's pitch was deepening the characters that Cawthon established in his own script, and with the help of co-writer Seth Cuddeback, they collectively cracked the story that had been in the works for nearly a decade. With an $80 million opening weekend and a new Blumhouse record that tops Halloween's 2018, $76.2 million. Tammi was never fazed by the added amount her film could have made had it not been a day-and-date release with Peacock. Naturally, she's also open to returning for a sequel, as there are some unresolved story points she'd like to address. One of those is the presumed death of Mary Stuart Masterson's Aunt Jane in the home of Mike, Josh Hutcherson, and his younger sister Abby, Piper Rubio, which would certainly raise some eyebrows given that she was challenging for custody of Abby. We're all, including myself, very excited to keep making movies in this universe if we're lucky enough to do so, and this first one does well, Tammi says. We have some loose ends that I think are going to have to come back in a sequel to be tied up. Below, during a conversation with THR on the morning of her film's release, Tammi also discusses Matthew Lillard's performance that is shades of his breakout role as Stu Macher in Scream, 1996. So how did a documentarian wind up in the genre space en route to Five Nights at Freddy's? That's a great question that I'm asking myself this morning as well. Documentary filmmaking allowed me to wear a lot of different hats because it tends to be quite low budget with small teams. So I was able to start producing and camera operating and editing and directing, and that really helped prepare me well for stepping into my first feature called The Wind. And ironically, I got linked up with the producers and financiers of that film because they had helped me out on a documentary film, Fair Chase, that I had shot in New Mexico. They were reminded of the landscapes that we'd captured in that documentary, and The Wind took place in the West at the turn of the century. So that was one of the things that made them think that I might be a good candidate to chat with the writer and step into the role of directing that film. So that was really my first entry into fictional film and TV, and it's been amazing. I fell in love with it and haven't wanted to stop since. Along the way, I got to work with Blumhouse on both a documentary, Election Day, Lens Across America, and some narrative episodes for an anthology series, Into the Dark, that they produced.